So after a close call last week against the Texas Longhorns, this week the Alabama Crimson Tide look to get back to the drawing board in a game against ULM that we've already received a Nick Saban rant over. Today, we need to break down all the things I think Alabama is going to be looking to work through during this game and why I think you need to be watching. Before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes, N for no. Do you think we see an inspired Alabama team come Saturday? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below as those interactions, though seemingly small, are massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And this is a fantastic opportunity for Alabama to get back to the drawing board and put together a response game. Because even though you may have close calls during your season, what I'm more interested in is how you respond after that. I think that really is what makes up a team. So this week is something I'm going to be really keyed in on. Where does Alabama look to improve? Are those improvements going to be shown? And everything in between. And if we're really looking at this holistically, one area stands out to me, and that's the rushing attack for the Crimson Tide. Because even though Alabama is still experiencing some of the offensive line woes they faced a year ago they were able to run the ball much more effectively than they are to this point in the season. In fact, up to this point in the season, Bryce Young is Alabama's leading rusher, and that's something I think has to change, especially when you look at the caliber of running back Alabama is currently fielding. Jase McClellan would start at 99% of colleges, not to even talk about how much of a chess piece Jahmyr Gibbs is. So much so that if we go back and watch the Utah State game, there were plenty of times where the defense sold out and ran forward to stop Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bryce Young was able to hit a receiver 10, 15 yards downfield because everybody sold out on Jahmyr Gibbs, making him such an effective decoy even when the ball's not in his hands, something you love to have a part of your offense. But given how talented those guys are, you would think Alabama's rushing attack would be a lot more successful than they've been. And if we actually look at the Texas game, in the early portions of that game, they were generating whatever they wanted. Alabama just got away from the run to the point where once the defense was already keyed in on what they were doing, it was hard to reestablish something that you'd gone so much away from. So this game right here, I think, is a perfect opportunity for Alabama's rushing attack to really come together because the talent is certainly there. Whether we're talking about Roydell Williams, Jase McClellan, Trey Sanders, Jahmyr Gibbs, there are so many talented individuals in that running back room, and I think it's time we get to see just how good that room is in its entirety. One of the things, though, along the offense that I think has got to change is when Alabama snaps the ball. Because Alabama has offensive line woes, but it is much harder to be a good offensive line if the defense knows exactly when you're going to snap the ball every single time. And one thing we've seen time and time again is Alabama waiting until there's 3, 4, 5 seconds left on the play clock and snapping the ball, if there's 5 seconds left. Time and time again, it seems like they're going to take a delay of game penalty, and then Bryce Young is able to get the ball off right in the nick of time. But whenever you do that, the defense inevitably knows when the ball is going to be snapped. So they're able to time your snaps, making it that much more difficult for your offensive line, which to me is perplexing. Because I'm not claiming to be some savant play caller or some X's and O's genius. Far from it. I'm someone who really enjoys learning football and is attempting to learn more and more about the game every day. But it doesn't make sense to me that if you have an offensive line that's struggling, that you're trying to give any advantage you can to the defense. Because inevitably, if you're waiting until 2-3 seconds to snap the ball, that's an advantage for the defense because they know when it's coming. As opposed to if you're hiking the ball with 20 seconds left on the play clock, with 15 seconds, the defense is a little bit more on their heels because they don't know when it's coming. You have so much more flexibility with trying to draw a team off sides, but you can forget trying to draw a team off sides whenever you're snapping the ball with that little time left on the clock. I get it, that's a whole long rant about the play clock, but that's something I think has got to change because it's infuriating to see time and time again an offensive line struggling that's really getting no help from a play calling perspective in that regard. So, really interested to see what happens there. The wide receiver room as a whole is perplexing me right now. Because if I look in that wide receiver room, the talent is there. The experience is not, but the talent is there. We saw guys such as Kobe Prentice and Isaiah Bond able to generate separation and get open, but then in a big play, Isaiah Bond had a great opportunity and wasn't able to haul in the pass. And I understand things like that are going to happen, but drops are something we've seen way too frequently from the Alabama wide receivers dating back to last year in the national championship, where drop after drop killed any momentum Alabama was trying to generate in that game, something that seems to be happening this year as well. That's got to change, because even though the talent is there and the experience is not, it's going to be really hard to put together some successful drives if drops continue to be a problem at the degree they're happening. The Alabama wide receiver room as a whole has a lot to figure out right now. Now, I am holding out hope that once Tyler Harrell returns, they're able to alleviate some of the pressure given how fast he is, and he is a deep threat that must be respected. Hopefully that's able to free some things up for the other wide receivers, but when you look at it, Kobe Prentice is a super fast guy. Isaiah Bond is a super fast guy. So there are speedsters on the team. Everything just has to come together, something that we just haven't seen quite yet. Bryce Young has been Bryce Young. He continues to be a magician and so much fun to watch play football. Defensively, I have less concerns than I do offensively for Alabama. Now, that's not to say that I think Alabama is in a perfect place defensively, because the secondary, specifically the corner position, I'm interested to see how the dust settles when the battle is over, because personally, I think your two guys are Kool-Aid and Terrion Arnold. I think Terrion Arnold maybe had the best game from a DB perspective against Texas. He was one of the only guys that when they put him out there on Worthy, he was able to at least run step for step with Worthy, something we saw killing the Tide early in that game, as nobody could run with Worthy through the early portions of that game. So Arnold is someone I think I would love to see more of in this defense. I think he's incredibly gifted. I think he can play just about every position in the secondary, but he's proving time and time again, he's a dude, just get him out on the field. Let him learn in the fire that is live action, and I think he's going to be better off for it. So the secondary is something I'm keyed in on, but if you're asking me an area I've been very impressed with Alabama, it's been that defensive front, specifically the interior guys, because they were able to limit Texas's rushing attack to virtually nothing. And that Texas rushing attack is going to be a dangerous one for the rest of the season, mark my words, barring any severe injuries. Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, Keelan Robinson, all are capable running backs, and Alabama was able to stifle that rushing attack to the tune of 2.4 yards per carry, something you love to see. So the front for Alabama continues to be a strong portion on this team. Jaheim Oatis, the true freshman, has already put together some plays that have exponentially increased the excitement around what he's going to be able to do. I can't wait to see how he continues to develop. The one area I think Alabama is going to look to start teeing off is from the pass rush. Because even though I contend sacks is a little bit of an overrated metric, there's far more impactful things, and I think we as fans get a little bit obsessed with sacks. That's not to say that they're not incredibly important. You getting a sack is able to generate momentum in your favor and take momentum away from an offensive team. But so far this year, we've only seen 3 sacks from the Alabama defense. Something that I think many within college football are surprised about, given who the two edge guys are. Now, that being said, offenses are scheming specifically for those two guys on the edge. They're not trying to keep the ball in their hands a long time. They're trying to get it out as quick as possible so that way Will and Dallas don't wreck their game plan. But at the end of the day, if that's the case, an adjustment has to be made so that Alabama is still effective, at least pressuring the quarterback, getting them uncomfortable and getting them off their spot. So this week is a fantastic opportunity for the Crimson Tide. They certainly cannot overlook an opponent, as we heard Nick Saban rant that every opponent must be respected and prepared for the exact same way. That if you become obsessed with who you're playing, you're not obsessed with becoming the best player you can be. Which is why in these type of settings, some people kind of ask me, why are you talking about this team playing Alabama? Alabama's going to crush them. Because no matter who you're playing, there are takeaways from these football games. It all depends whether or not you want to find them. I'm super interested in finding the takeaways, and that's why I'm going to be watching closely come Saturday. Hop down in the comments, let me know what you're thinking. Let me know what you're going to be watching for come Saturday, because there are several different layers I think Tide fans are going to be very interested in. That's it. See ya.